Hello, everyone. Welcome to UMD Media. UMD Media works on understanding, measuring, and doing, and it strives for an evidence-rich and evidence-based led decision-making and discourse in the Horn of Africa. Today, I'm back with a conversation with Mohamed Olad on Somali cause, Danta, Soomaalida. So we'll be talking about the Somali code. Those who are following us live on Facebook and YouTube, please share, subscribe, and like, so that we get more viewers, more viewership for our shows. Okay, Mohamed Olad, welcome to MD Media Show.
Thanks, Professor Katiache. Thanks for having me, and I really say thank you for all the efforts you guys are doing to actually broaden the discourse and having different perspective from different people and different angles. Congratulations on all the things you guys are doing.
Thank you. We try our best, but it's not always easy for people to be willing to come. Otherwise, our media is open for enriching the discourse in the Horn of Africa. So, Danta, Soomaalida. Is that how I should say?
That's pretty close. For a northerner. Yes, I would say.
Can you say that?
Danta Soomaalida.
Danta Soomaalida.
So it is like 95% there.
Not bad.
Okay,
bad. Great.
I'll give it 99. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm happy to converse with you on that. And by the end of the show, my hope is we will have a good understanding of the political and advocacy landscape of Somali. And for those who don't know who Mohamed Olad is, not to be mistaken with Mohamed Olad Hassan. I think he's at the VOA now. Mohamed Olad is also a journalist. I will just cover his brief bio for the sake of today's subject matter. You can follow him on Twitter, Olad Mohamed. That's his handle, as you can see it on the screen. Or at Olad Mohamed is his account, and here you'd see he's the chief editor, founder of Jigjiga Herald, and we'll talk about the other part of his bio as well. He's also on Facebook, Mohamed.Olad2. That is his handle on Facebook. On LinkedIn, you can find the link as well with this profile picture and this. So he has a Bachelor's of Art and a Master of Business Administration from Addis Ababa University. Addis Ababa University, the largest and oldest university in the country. And there are a number of experiences here serving in the government in Somali region and including media and communication advisor of the current Somali regional state president, Mustafa. And with that, what we want to talk today is on Somali cause, what it is and so on. I think this is when you were an advisor, right, Mohamed?
Yes. Yeah. That's the good old days. Yeah, I was in Jigjiga, yes.
Yeah, you were in Jigjiga. Yeah, you are also a Jigjiga University instructor there, lecturer as well there. So Somali cause, what it is, what it is not, is what we want to cover. So first off, in terms of the Somali cause, I mean, you can start from here, Congress for Somali Cause. So tell us about what this logo is saying, what it's showing. I like, the people and the nature, people and place in the center. Can you speak to what the Congress for Somali Cause is?
Absolutely, and yeah, that's a pretty good idea of what actually we thanks actually for noticing that, Professor Getachew. What we're actually trying to achieve with this logo and what we are trying for this, the message we were trying for it to portray was that we were trying to create a forum, like where all Somali groups and Somali individuals, what do you call it, intellectuals and political figures, cultural figures, social figures can actually come together and actually play their part in terms of articulating what the Somali cause is, in terms of contributing the wider objective of actually mobilizing the Somali political forces, and also in terms of also bringing their different ideas and perspectives about what the Somali cause is, what it should be, and how should the Somali cause should be advanced within the broader context in Ethiopia. So we were trying to actually, we wanted Golaha Danta Soomaalida or Congress for Somali cause to be that platform. So you see like a nice gentleman with Somali cultural attire, what you call gathered under a huge tree in a beautiful background setting, in which they are actually discussing about the Somali issue, what the Somali cause is, and how it should be advanced. And in terms about the colors, so we wanted the green color for, say, for example, Congress for Somali cause to actually signify the Somali people's aspiration for a prosperous, developed region that is actually suited for actually for people to have a, what do you call, a rich, prosperous livelihoods. And also Golaha Danta Soomaalida down, what do you call, on the Somali text, and that we also wanted to portray that Somali, what you call, the color, that light blue is the main Somali color, that with the white background actually is the main color for Somali political identity. And also the three circular colors, the red signifies the cause, and also the blue and the green also signifies the issue of the Somali cause, the Somali political cause, and also and the need for a prosperous, developed region. So that was basically what we were trying to capture with this logo. Also, if I may proceed and also give you a little bit of background about what Congress for Somali cause is, what it stands for, and what is the brief history from the day from its establishment to this day.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Okay, go ahead. Yes. Okay.
Given that our viewers would be wondering about this picture as well. You were the advisor, communication and media advisor of the president of Somali region, regional state. Not anymore. And I gather that, at least from your bio, this was until March 2020. So can you speak to the fact that why not anymore? What happened on March 2020?
Fantastic. That's a good question, Professor Getachew. Me and President Mustafa, we actually go long back. We were comrades. We were brothers on a what do you call that, shared a cause, and also we both played our parts in our own ways in the political movement that actually helped actually for a political transition to take place in the region, and the regime of Abdi or Abdi Muhammad Umar, aka Abdi, to actually vacate position, and that people like Mustafa, me, and other friends can actually fill that gap and actually make sure that the transition of the political wind that was going on in other parts of the country would actually gonna reach the Somali region. So we were both co-founders of another political movement before this, called Siraj Somali Region Alliance for Justice, And also we were also the what do you call and helping in terms of coordinating and mobilizing the wider Somali diaspora movement for political change. So after the transition has taken place in the region and Mustafa ascended to the presidency, he asked many of his former colleagues and what you call former comrades to actually be part of his administration. So some of us took advisorship role because there was some immigration and diaspora law that was actually prohibiting people to take up a executive role, and some of us also actually were able to take a executive position role with the new administration. So for a year and a half, and so for almost 2 years, we were actually working together in terms of rebuilding the region, in terms of stabilizing the region, in terms of actually taking what you call making sure that the region runs smoothly and a real transition actually takes place in the region, both politically and economically. And then sometime back in December of the year 2019 comes at a time when the process for the BB merger took place in the region and in other parts of Ethiopia, like in Oromia and Amhara, and except in Tigray.
The
And
Prosperity Party, right?
yes, Prosperity Party, yes.
Mm.
And then I was among the those who are in vocal opposition to the PP project. I was in the view that it is not in the best interest of the Somali people. It is not in the best interest of the wider Ethiopian people, and it is just another instrument for what do you call Abiy Ahmed to centralize power, and also for Abiy's main what do you call political base, what we call those nostalgic Ethiopians. That's what I like to call them. Was actually a project for them to actually control state levels of power and then to undertake whatever project that they have what you call under their sleeves in terms of undermining the current federal structure that we have. So I was in the strong view that this is just the first step of many disastrous steps that would be taken, and that would not going to be under my conscience. I would not going to be part of that. So even President Mustafa himself were of that same view until he was pressured by Abiy and the central government, and he finally succumbed to that what you call pressure. And that's actually, and then after that, I parted my way with the president. I told him, even though maybe it was in the best interest for him to be in power or to still rule the region and then still co-opt PP and Abiy and his backers, though he actually absolutely unequivocally believed that this is not in the best interest of the Ethiopian people, the best interest of the Somali people. And he has shared it out with me and many of our colleagues that this is a disaster, but they have no other option. But I was of the belief that I believe that people still have options. So he could have actually made that clear to the Somali people. He could have actually left his position, or he could have actually, what do you call, pushed that back to the point that even at some point, even for BP to be a viable project, it actually needed the Somalis to actually come on board. Without that, even the Oromos in the OBDO were actually waiting for the signal for the Somali region or the Somali People's Democratic Party back then. That's what it was called. So they were actually what do you call waiting for the opportunity for people like us to say no, and then they could use that pushback opportunity to actually say no to themselves and to Abiy. So that is how I actually left the administration and parted with Mustafa. And after that, it has been like another 6-month ordeal for me and for my family, in which I was arrested. I was threatened. They actually, what you call also confiscated family properties. They actually what you call harassed my family, my sisters, my mother. They beaten some of them. Some of them were actually pregnant. Some of them were lactating, and also that is how I actually, and then I become involved in all the issues and all the advocacy that I was in after, because I believe it's still BB and what it stands for is a real threat, is a real danger to the Somali people, to their cause, to the Ethiopian people, to the stability of the entire Horn of Africa region. So that is why from the day I left that office, I never actually took a rest one day, so that, and then it actually led us to the Somali Congress, Congress for Somali cause, which I'm glad we're talking about it today.
Mm. Yeah, I don't want to spend our time on talking about
Yeah,
Mustafa, all that, but there are a
absolutely.
number of questions in terms of, if he was not interested, or if he was not, if he was opposing, why, like you said, didn't, uh, walk the talk, so to speak. But we will maybe come back to that some other day. So let's talk about the Somali code. Like you mentioned, I mean, I'm so glad you colorfully explained the what each color and each circle, everything stands for, which is a learning moment for our viewers as well. So for those who want to follow the Somali Code's official Twitter and social media account, this is their uh, Twitter account, and there is a website there, somalicause.org, and this is their presence on Facebook. Again, the same handle, Somali Cause. So, what I want to first, to just tell our viewers, if you can, is what this is not, and then we'll go to the declarations, all that, and so on. So this ONLF. So ONLF is a party. Somali Cause, Congress for Somali Cause, is not a party.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Do you want me to elaborate? Yes,
Yes,
that's right.
please.
The main reason for that is because Somali Congress, Congress for Somali Cause, is a diaspora-led movement as we speak today. So, uh, organizing it as a political party would not actually gonna cut it, because now even those who are already were a registered legal party cannot actually function within the Ethiopian context as we speak of now. So down the road, whenever there is an opening in terms of the political space, then whenever we actually have some traction in terms of mobilizing people within the region better than we are actually doing now, then that would be a course that would be taken for now. But for now, uh, it is a political organization that is intended to mobilize and what you call coordinate all the political movements and the political organizations and the activities they engage in now. So we are more or less that forum for actually coordinating uh, different groups and different political organizations, most of them in the diaspora, but also we have our roots and connections within the people in the region. But for security reasons and for obvious reasons, as in the situation in Ethiopia, we cannot be transparent on whatever we're doing on the ground. But the is that uh, we cannot register as a political party in the United States. We want to actually transfer this to be a political party down the road, but that will only going to be what do you call a reality after the situation on the ground actually changed.
Mm, great. Yeah. Uh, this is a kind of a big umbrella, but a very young one. We'll talk about
Really.
that. But I just want our viewers, to understand what is this movement is and what it's not. And I saw this this is from the former Minister of Women, Children, and Youth, who resigned, I think, just last year, end of last year, maybe. So this is not about your movement. It's different.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
and I really have a lot of respect for the former minister, and though I was people on the belief that she could have actually done better in terms of actually saying no to the Abiy regime and its abuses, and also it is role in the Tigray genocide in terms of both in Tigray and also the what do you call the tragedy in Oromia. So she could have actually stood aside a long time ago, but again. It is better late than never. So I really also applaud her courage at the end of the last term that she actually resigned it finally. But what I actually also trying to say that uh, uh, for us at the Congress for Somali, because we actually welcome all political groups and all political figures and cultural figures, social figures, as I said earlier, including the ex-minister. We have also we engage within this area, but the kind of what you call setting she was in was actually were not part of the Congress for Somali cause.
Okay. Because, especially for the international community and other Ethiopians and so on, making this clear is what we wanted to do here by bringing you. Let's go back to November 29. That's, when at least the public came about to know about the movement. And you specifically had a reason to choose that. Actually, I want you to speak to that subject. November 29 is maybe 67 years ago before this agreement happened. Why did you choose that day?
Very interesting. November 29 was actually the year in which the last Somali territories were transferred to Haile Selassie by the British. And then we actually, the consultation is for establishing the Congress for Somali cause was actually going on for like over a year. We were engaging with different Somali intellectuals, political figures all across the globe, and at the end of that process, we finally chose this date to actually signify and actually send them exact what you call clear message about what Somali cause is about, Congress for Somali cause is about, and what it stands for. So we wanted we wanted what you call declare the establishment of the Congress for Somali cause on this specific date, on this main reason that since that day, the last Somali territories were transferred to Haile Selassie. Since this day, the Somali people has never been what you call has never been given the option or the opportunity to actually have their say or to actually what you call uh, their consent, their participation, or their what you call or they have never been involved or consulted about what the future about Ethiopia should be, or what will be their relationship with the Ethiopian state. So from there, from that day, it marked this what do you call imbalance in terms of uh, what the Ethiopia what do you call this uncanny relationship with the let me say between the Ethiopian state and the Somali people in general. So even after EBIDF came to power, there was a little bit of exception in that case because at least some of the questions that the Somali people have been yearning for a long time, including the right for self-administration, or in terms, or at least for the right for self-rule, was actually were partially granted under the FDRE, what do you call constitution. Though we can still talk about the substance of that real self-rule, but at least it gave the foundation. It actually at least gave a territorial, it marked the territorial reach of the region. It actually, the region is today ruled and run by people from the Somali region, though we can still talk about what the substance of that journey, whether that is a journey self-rule or what is missing or what can be improved and so on. So we actually wanted to make sure that the Congress for Somali cause is this outfit that actually tries to actually make sure that the Somali people is at the center in terms of the efforts that actually determines their fate. So we were trying to make sure that we were actually going to make sure the Somali people actually would have a say in terms of about their future, or actually would have what we would actually at least provide an opportunity in terms of advancing that generational cause from the days of Sayyid Muhammad Abdullah Hassan, from the day Sayyid Muhammad Abdullah Hassan. By the way, December 23, yesterday was the day that actually Sayyid Muhammad Abdullah Hassan has passed away. So from the day uh, from that day on, from the days he was fighting Menelik to the last day, in terms of from today, uh, the Somali people, what do you call, has this under overarching cause, and that is the right for genuine self-rule, the right for self-determination. And the main reason behind the establishment of the Congress for Somali cause is to make sure that finally the Somali people would have or will realize their God given right for self determination. And also, in the meantime, whatever we have in that self administration after that, it would going to be a genuine Somali led, Somali owned, genuine self rule within the region.
Great. Because you just talked about, can you speak to who that is? Because he died, you said December 23rd, right?
Uh, that is uh, that is Mehdi Ayub. He was one of the founders of the Somali region. He was among leaders that actually, what do you call, set the tone for the current Somali administration. But what I was talking about was Sayyid Muhammad Abdullah
Mm,
Hassan, like uh, the great Sayyid Muhammad Abdullah Hassan, the freedom fighter that actually was fighting against Menelik and the British Empire in the late 20th century, the late 19th century, sorry, 20th century. So he passed away December 21, 1920, I think, if I'm correct on the date. So he's this icon of Somali. He's just an icon of Somali liberation. What do you call it? Struggle, and 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 he was among the first. What do you call, organized political movement in the region. So he actually declared an army struggle both against Menelik within Ethiopia, because Menelik back then was controlling some of the territories in the Somali region, not completely. The
mm,
rest of the Somali territories were finally transferred by the British to Haile Selassie on 1954. But since 1888 or 1886, Menelik, after what do you call Menelik's Zamachas in eastern and southern Ethiopia, Menelik was actually controlling a huge swath of the Somali territories we call today the Somali region. So he was fighting this, what do you call, multi-front struggle against the Italians in the south, and what do you call Somaliland and British Somaliland in the north, and also Menelik, what do you call, to the west.
mm,
So 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 we were actually from that day on. This struggle this multi generational struggle uh, was centered on that idea of self determination. Even Sayyid Muhammad Abdullah Hassan, a century earlier, was actually making sure that the Somali people have their say in terms of 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 their fate and their future, rather than
mm,
actually living under colonial kind of, what do you call, structure, whether that is under the British or under Menelik or
mm,
under Italians, Somalia.
mm. With that, I think it's worth mentioning that I think you touched that, but even if you declared the establishment of this on November 29th for the significance of the day that you alluded to, it was, I read in this declaration that you have been having a year-long discussions on this, and a number of parties that existed, I think, before that for maybe different lengths of time came together. I see here SLCC, the Safe Somali State Global Congress, the Somali World Congress, Somali National Congress, and other prominent Somali intellectuals. And then this is the party or the group that you are talking about, where Mustafa and yourself and others were prior to 2018, were advocating for change in the Somali region and maybe as well in the whole Ethiopia. So the next day, if the days are correct, the next day it declared that it will ally or it will be part of your Congress. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. The Somali, it's Suraj or Somali Region Alliance for Justice, actually joined Somali Congress, Congress for Somali cause after December 3, December 4, if I'm correct on the date. But it actually they joined it or allied themselves with the Congress for Somali cause after the declaration of the Congress for Somali State. So they were the first group that we have reached out in terms of actually expanding the base for the Congress for Somali cause right after its establishment. So yes, it is part of the greater Congress and Alliance, Congress for Somali cause, and it is part of that as we speak. But it actually the formal joining came actually after the declaration of the Congress for Somali cause.
And this was this is this a party? Was this a party? Somali Region
Yes.
Alliance for
Yeah,
Justice?
it was a party, but it was a diaspora-based party.
Oh.
It wasn't from the moment that the transition has taken place, and then we all went back to the region. Most of our leadership actually, and some of the leadership joined it in the then Somali People's Democratic Party, so that they were going to be able to participate in the transition in the region. And also on top of that, we were about to announce in a day or two another major merger, another major Somali political party that I will not gonna mention their name as we speak because of the discussions and the what do you call background discussions we're having. But in a couple of days or two, we were also gonna announce what do you call the merger of another major Somali group within to this Congress for Somali cause. And this is what we actually like, Professor Getachew, is this trajectory. We will never gonna stop until we have another Somali group or Somali party that is not included within the Congress for Somali cause. We will not rest until we had a major prominent Somali figure that we actually believe would enrich our discourse or would actually gonna help us and in terms of realizing that age old question of the Somali and Somali cause. So we were going to announce that also in a couple of days, and then from there on, we were going to still keep our engagements and reach out to all those what do you call Somali groups and also non-Somali groups. That's the other element of our outreach. We are also going to reach out to all those people that we actually have a common agenda in terms of what the future of Ethiopia should look like,
Hmm.
in terms of what kind of state structure we should have, whether federalism, confederalism, something different. That we have more or less the same view in terms of realizing what do you call reassuring the sovereignty of the nations and nationalities and the peoples of Ethiopia in
Hmm.
terms of what you call realizing that all nations and nationalities within Ethiopia ha- realize or what you call uh, bear the fruits of a long struggle for the realization of the rights for nations and nationalities and different peoples in Ethiopia. So whether that's within our Oromo brothers, Tigrayan brothers, what do you call, whether that's our Benishangul and Gumuz people, whether that is what do you call Keman, and all the other what do you call oppressed groups within historically marginalized groups within Ethiopia. So that is the next chapter of our engagement. First we're gonna try to bring all the different Somali political groups and entities together, and then after we actually make sure that we have a common united front as an elite after we actually had a real tangible bargain among ourselves, then we were going to be able to deal with our brothers that we have the same, what do you call, more or less, we share the same goals and cause in terms of all the other issues that I actually mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think one thing that we have repeatedly said on UMD media is that the common man, the common woman in Ethiopia, in the Horn of Africa for that matter, even elsewhere, everywhere, they are united in suffering, in getting always the bad stuff from the elites, all that in political power. One thing that catched my attention in your letter that was I think last week, from December 16th, the press release. There are around 5 points that you mentioned there. I know our viewers cannot read this letter there, but they can go to your social media uh, page and look at that. But I just brought this one. The last one, for example, the recurrent droughts have undermined households' resilience and social support networks and so on. So this is, as we speak, a drought is happening in Somali, and we know that there has been serious droughts as well in some parts of Oromia. We know the Amhara region, as is the Tigray, the Afar region. The farmers, the poor people are under unspeakable war, atrocities, all that, and so on. So, uh, can you speak to that? Because we don't hear, at least officially, about the drought that's happening in Somali. So, that's part of your release. So, can you speak to that? What's happening right now in Somali region in terms of drought?
Yes, there is a really tragic, what do you call, and very serious drought that are actually taking place in many parts of the region. And the other sad reality is that the regional government is not actually doing anything about it. They just came out a couple of days ago, maybe 2 or 3 days ago, even after we have been releasing what do you call it, statements like this, and we were having some media engagements about the drought. Though we have a political cost that we have to actually look after, we cannot also actually forget about the real sufferings and the circumstances that our people are in. So while we're dealing with the international community, while we're dealing with the media, we were actually making sure that this message also gets across. That's why we actually have some sort of a what do you call, mentioning in terms of this serious, devastating drought in the region. And then the solution they came up with tragically is that they said they have allotted some 43 million birr to actually address the drought, and 43 million Ethiopian birr is what you call is useless these days. It can address nothing, let alone a massive drought on the scale that is happening, that it is happening in the region. So I have some inside info back what you call a couple of months ago. There was a regional cabinet meeting that they actually had this recurring drought as one of their agendas. So they were like, what should we do about it? And then they finally came to the conclusion that it needs at least 1 billion birr, at least from their budget, let alone all the support from international community and international humanitarian organizations, and also Ethiopian humanitarian infrastructure, whether that is the National Disaster Office or whatever that is. So at least they actually came to the conclusion that they at least need a billion Ethiopian birr, at least from the budget, on top of what all the other support they can get from the federal government and from international humanitarian organizations. So when they came out again to the media a couple of months after that, and they said, even after a little bit of pressure from the public, that all they can do is a 43 million birr, all they have in terms of addressing for this. It really just breaks your heart. It actually shows how far, what you call, they are detached from the people, from the reality, and from the circumstances that they are in. This is the same region that actually is busy in terms of funding the genocidal war on Tigray, in terms of donating what you call financial and non-financial assets, like showing this solidarity with Amhara expansionist project. And their own people is actually the ones who are really suffering and needs help in this difficult time. So yes, there is a devastating drought, and I would like to take this opportunity one more time to make sure that all international humanitarian agencies, the Ethiopian federal government, and the regional government itself to actually look at this, what you call devastation, really closely, and make sure that they come up with some sort of a mechanism to actually avert a very devastating human crisis that is unfolding within our own very eyes.
Very important indeed. Yeah. So one thing you mentioned as well, at least a significant point, is the issue of national dialogue. So you criticize what came as a draft law. I think now it's even in the House of Representatives, in the Parliament, I guess. The national dialogue presented as an elite ideological conflict, and you are saying that this does not recognize the true nature of the national predicament, and you call for a truly all-inclusive national dialogue as the solution in terms of putting an end to this endless suffering and potential genocide, all that, and so on. So, can you speak to that? Because there is this on the social media, the pro-Abiy Ahmed social media and mainstream media, there is both the notion of pushing out this national dialogue coming, and at the same time also saying no negotiation with this, or with that, all that, and so on. So a very exclusive way of looking at the problem. And even I think I want you also to speak to what Mustafa said in Djibouti recently.
Yeah.
So I will play that one, and you can translate it for our viewers as well.
Okay, fantastic.
meesha u socda waxa weeye stateska hadda all inclusive discussion hadda la ansixiyey meesha u socda waxa weeye oromo inay wada hadasho basically xabiistii in laga hadlo soo baxaan it will nullify the TPLF threat very soon because markay taasi dhacdo TPLF aad soo socotaa ma jirayso contestationku markaa wuxuu geli doonaa states inay ka wada hadlaan fedka Ethiopia waa waxaynu rabnay u soconayno so any outcome oo ka soo dhacaya dagaalada ka socda Ethiopia Somali region threat kuma including ku anaga naga saaraya meesha including ku anaga naga saaraya as maamulhan threat shacabka Soomaaliya deegaanka kuma aan qabnaano ama federalism hadda jira soconaya ama confederation.
So you can start by giving context to where this is, what's happening, and what he's saying.
Fantastic. This was in Djibouti. It is a forum organized by a group called Heritage Institute for Policy Studies. It is like it is a Somali, what do you call, policy institute. They actually try to bring Somalis in the region together. So sometimes they would have people from Somalia and Kenya and Ethiopia, and then they actually bring them in one forum, and then they could actually share ideas and information about the state of the home. That being said, Mustafa was asked about what the national dialogue that Abiy announced entails for the Somali people and for the entire country. So his response was actually quite shocking on many levels. On one, it actually makes clear of all the things that we knew from, or we were expecting from Abiy and his regime, and is that this is not actually an this is not, let alone being an all-inclusive dialogue. This is not even a national dialogue. That was the message he was trying to portray. That this is some sort of a dialogue intended to actually bring Oromo forces or Oromo political organizations together to unify the Oromo as what do you call political forces, so that he actually said the other part to nullify the threat from TPLF. So he was thinking like, and yes, even and there is nothing wrong with that. If there is any what you call opportunity in which, for example, you can bring the Oromo political organizations together, that's actually what you call one step in the right direction. The other step would gonna be, okay, if we can bring Oromo political forces together, Somali political forces together, Tigrayan political groups together, and then we have we have at least a common shared what you call agenda, then we can all come together. And nothing wrong with even I would even applaud even if Abiy say national dialogue even achieves what do you call somehow to bring the Oromo political what do you call forces together, because that means accepting Jawar and Bakala Garba. That means actually giving Professor Marara Gudina an opportunity to actually make his voice heard. That means actually what do you call accepting what do you call and talking to an Oromo Liberation Army or Oromo Liberation Front or all the other genuine Oromo political organization. So even that in and itself will not going to be something bad. But what I have a problem with is one step beyond that is even though as Mustafa tried to characterize this as an inter-Oromo kind of dialogue, what I'm afraid is that this will not even going to be a dialogue at all. Let it being an inter-Oromo dialogue, or let it being national dialogue, or let it being an all-inclusive dialogue. Isn't it? There is quite a few words that are actually misused and actually what do you call lost meaning in Abiy's what do you call regime, like national dialogue. So because dialogue and discussion and what you call compromise is not in their political lexicon. It's not even in their DNA actually. It is capitulation. It is what you call annihilation. It is about actually my way or the highway. I would rather destroy a whole region rather than actually talking to these leaders, and I would rather wage an all what do you call assault on all fronts on the Oromo people. I would gonna actually throw all these leaders in jail rather than actually talking to them and talking with them or engaging with them about the state of the Oromia region, about the state of affairs of what do you call in the country and in the future as well. So I would say that it is not a national dialogue, it is not an all-inclusive dialogue, and it is not an inner Oromo dialogue, as Mustafa tried to portray this. But the other shocking, what do you call, a statement he made within that speech is that, and it shows the callousness or the disregard they have for reality, and it shows like the kind of delusional world that they live in. What he was actually basically saying was that whatever happens or whatever the outcome of the war, what do you call, in the north is, it will not going to affect the Somali people, or that doesn't pose threat to the Somali people. And nothing could be far from reality as to that. The more that the war continues, it actually creates human devastation on so many levels. And at the end of the day, it was just going to come to your doorstep. Maybe Tigray and Afar and Amhara people are the ones actually what you call receiving the brunt of this war. But it was just going to be a matter of time before this actually translates or engulfs the whole country into what you call into an all-inclusive what you call a disaster. So let alone Ethiopia, let alone the people in the Somali region, the entire Horn of Africa is in danger because of the war going on in Chile. Because you can start a war, but you will not have a control or what do you call on its end or what kind of course it will take. You can actually what do you call you can actually pretend like a war will not gonna finally come to you, but that's just would gonna be just like you're just being delusional, because the more the crisis deepens, the more it would gonna likely engulf the whole region and suck everybody into that crisis. So maybe Tigray and Amhara and Oromia are suffering today, but as long as we keep going, we keep this what you call disastrous path, it was just gonna be it's not a matter of if, but it's just going to be a matter of when, before all the people in all the other peripheries would actually would be sucked into this disaster as well. But also, and in terms of the national dialogue itself, we believe what you call an all-inclusive dialogue. The whole point of dialogue is to engage with people you disagree, and not only people you disagree, but the people you disagree the most. And there are no people that you disagree with most than the ones you have actually raised armies against each other. So you will Abiy, you will not. There is no need for Abiy to talk to what you call to Burhan and Naga of Izemo, because they are on the same bed and more or less they share the same kind of world view, the same kind of objective, the same kind. They see more or less the same kind of future for Ethiopia. That is not the who you need to talk to. Who you need to talk to is people like Jawar Mohamed, Drought, what do you call Jalmaro of OLA, people who you genuinely disagree with them. That is, and what I suspect is this is also another kind of shenanigans or another kind of gimmick that actually the BP government actually what do you call mastery these days. They said they were going to hold an election. They would hold a free and fair election. They have been preaching about holding the first free and democratic election in Ethiopia. But what they did was a sham election in which they actually either barred everybody who stood a chance in stopping them, or they threw them in jail, or they actually waged a war on them. So who do you actually then hold? Who do you actually for what reason, or what would be the point of an election like that? So when it comes to national dialogue, I think when BP official came to the media the day after they announced the dialogue, and then everybody was actually was a little bit hopeful that it was going to be different this time. Maybe they have actually learned some lesson after a year of devastating war. Finally, they came to their senses that they're really ready to engage and talk. That's what came to everybody's mind, and everybody get a little bit hopeful. But then, as anything else they did in the past couple of years, then another BB official came the next morning on national television and said, "Oh, whoa, stop there. This is not the kind of national dialogue we're talking about. We are not actually ready to talk to the TDF and OLA and all the other main groups." So all of a sudden they came out themselves and actually indicated that this is not actually an all-inclusive dialogue. This is a very exclusive dialogue. Again, it's very exclusive group of people. So it did not even took our speculation or people like us actually doubting their intentions. They actually came out themselves, nullifying whatever hope that we have the other day within 24 hours after they announced that dialogue. And then they came out and they strongly say this is not an all-inclusive dialogue. And that's not me who's saying it. It is Abiy's government, and that's Abiy's position, because they already excluded a category of political forces that they don't want to deal with. So what I sense is that it's just another mechanism to take a little bit of international diplomatic pressure on them, so that they would actually gonna pretend like actually they're talking to people, but they're not actually talking to people. Mm-hmm. So even though if they start some levels talking to people, they don't actually genuinely differ that much, and they embark on their drama. They were not even gonna compromise after all. So maybe you would have another 2-3 years, just like all those identity and border commissions, all those 12 different commissions that has been established in about 3 years, and none of them actually contributed anything in terms of making sure that we have a very stable, prosperous, democratic Ethiopia. But it was just again another roll of papers in the dustbin. That's the way I look at it. But and that's why we actually call it for a genuine national dialogue that doesn't exclude anybody, no matter whether they are armed. What do you call it? They are party to an armed conflict, or they are like what do you call people like us who what do you call are not in an armed struggle against the government. So it has to be a very even playing field. Everybody should be what do you call invited, and then peace and dialogue should be given a chance at least once, at least for once in Ethiopia, in its entire history.
Great. I think I hear you loud and clear. Abiy Ahmed has been very consistent in terms of establishing something for something else, but announcing it for a different reason. So one commission that comes to mind is the Identity and Border Commission. And he was, I think it was Getachew Reda who was quoting him. He, when TPLF or the Tigray government opposed that, saying, it's not constitutional or this or that, Abiy called a private meeting with them and saying that, please don't make it a big deal. This is just, we established it for the sake of silencing, the Bahadar PP and so on. So
Yeah.
He's known for doing that, to your point.
Yeah.
Maybe before we finish, with a couple of questions, one thing that people may not know, again, because of the war on Tigray, has, blurred everything what's happening elsewhere, is what's happening in Somali region. Among other things, I saw the arrest, but then I think release of the journalists in Somali region. I think this is from the BBC Amharic service, and so on. So, and then I saw also another one. You can speak to what life looks like under. Maybe this is also a bit old, but you can speak to that as well. These people are, I guess, as well victims of what's happening in Somali region. So, if you were to paint what life for media, politicians, people who have a different opinion on what is happening in Somali region, but also in the bigger Ethiopia, what would you say if you have that picture?
Fantastic. People actually ask me this question a lot, and even sometimes when I see national and international coverage about the region, I really get upset because no one actually knows on what is going on in the region. The narrative we have at the center in terms of what is actually going in the region is completely debased of reality. It's just like an opposite universe. It's like we live in a parallel universe. So, for example, let me raise two main questions or narratives that actually people actually pointed to in terms of the reality of the political situation or the reality in the region. One is the Somali region is the most peaceful region in all of Ethiopia, right? How many times, Professor Getachew, you heard the Somali region is the most peaceful region in the couple of times, huh? What I would gonna say is that there is no real peace in the region as we speak. There is only what I call relative peace. It is just peaceful relative to the other regions in Ethiopia, and the kind of peace we have in Ethiopia and in the region. It's not a solid peace. It's not like a worked out peace. It's not like a sustainable peace. It just needs one stupid thing or Mustafa do something really stupid for to engulf the whole region. And the other reason that we have some sort of that relative peace within the region is that because ONLF, the main rebel group in the region, actually put their arms down and actually entered into some sort of an agreement with the government, with the Ethiopian government 3 years ago. And from there on, they never negated that. Though we have countless and countless efforts by Mustafa and his administration to actually push them to the limit, so that they would gonna actually get back to the armed struggle they have been they have engaged against the Ethiopian state for the past 30 years. So for example, you have like a Mustafa's actually orchestrated some sort of a conflict, what you call a artificial conflict within the ONLF, so that he would going to be able to divide them into two main opposing groups, and one is allied with the PP, and the other is the legitimate, what you call, group. So they actually, just like Abiy does in Addis. So you have OLF, you have Dawood Ibsa, the main chairman, and then you have another guy that they actually made up on, and they're trying to prop it up as a real OLF chairman, though. So you have this kind of mirroring reality in Ethiopia. So for Ethiopia, the war just maybe the world woke up to the war on November 3rd in Tigray in 2020. But the reality on the ground is way more complex than that. The war has been already waged way longer than that. I remember like 2 years before that, there was nothing going through Amhara region going to before the total blockade after November 3. Nothing was passing through Oromia and on some level in Afar, and you have a region of 7 million in which nothing is going through or nothing is coming through either way. And then you can't call a peace when you have like a militia build-up, like Amhara, what you call militia, has been building up like 3-4 years, even before the before the outburst of the Tigray conflict. You can't call there is a peace in Oromia, for example. Everybody woke up to the reality in Oromia after Abiy started to bombard the OLA in Walaga and Gucci. But the reality on the ground was way complex than that. There was telltale signs that this is not actually, there is this, the kind of peace we have in Ethiopia is not a sustainable peace. It is what you call transitional peace, if you would like. And the government hasn't put its worth or an all-out effort to actually make sure that that peace is sustained, that all these fisheries are conflict fisheries that are actually propping up here and there needs to be addressed. And the same kind of situation is with the region. I think the connection got lost for a second there.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Prof. Secretary?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, and so we have more or less the same kind of situation in the region. It seems calm, but it is not actually a rooted peace. It's not like a sustainable peace. So and on top of that, the regional government has been actually trying really hard to actually create some sort of a conflict among communities, either based on tribe or either pushing those people that actually pushing to the limit, those people that actually disagree with them, like the ONLF. So, for example, as we speak, there are like more than half a dozen senior ONLF members that are arrested, senior executive members that are in jail, let alone all the other journalists, all the other activists or political figures. And the reality we have is that the region is neither peaceful, is neither democratic, and it was just going to be a matter of time unless actually there is some change in terms of the administration's what do you call actions in terms of dealing with political opposition, in terms of actually improving people's democratic and political rights. So I would just gonna say in short is that maybe there is calm in some sort of a calmness in the region, but it is a kind of calmness that we did have before we have all the kind of conflicts we have in Ethiopia now, and it will only gonna be a matter of time before something really serious happens, and it will only also gonna be because of the doing of the administration in Jijiga.
Thank you, Mohamed. Yeah, one thing that's surprising is the resistance. Even if we don't hear a lot about it, but from the people even surrounding him, Mustafa, is not simple. Like, I mean, so I'm talking about this was, I think, some months old, but it was talking about how the region, the Liu High or the Liu police commanders were saying no, to joining the war in Tigray. This among other things, right? Uh,
Yes.
and then you see that he went to Somaliland and printed it, and it was on the national TV, actually, in the state TV,
Yeah.
that how the Somaliland was supporting the war and so on. But only the one of the ambassadors from that Somaliland say, no, that's a lie. And
Yeah.
one thing that you mentioned even before was the fact that he was opposing the joining of the Prosperity Party. And
Yeah.
this is a man, I think this is from your Jijiga Herald, where it was talking about what
Yeah.
who he is and so on. So he suffered, or his family suffered under the previous, regime, right, in Abdele and so on. So when I see this, or when you see, what does it tell you in terms of where, I mean, the same man who suffered under the same, silencing, all that happened before the so-called reform, and now doing the same thing to others, in his group, all that and so on. So how do you see, you can also answer it from the Somali cause, from the Congress of Somali cause, perspective, what is the way out? And that would be my final question in terms of our show today as well. What do you see is the way out of this suffering for the Somali people and other people of Ethiopia, for that matter?
Absolutely. What this Orwellian tragedy about Mustafa being a victim of what you call state oppression himself, his family has actually suffered immensely under Abdi's regime. His brother was killed. His family was actually what you call were kicked out of their homes, their property and personal belongings confiscated, and he was exiled from the region for 13 years. He wasn't able to come back himself. For his own safety, and the same man with that same sad experience actually uh, has never shown any sort of sympathy for people who are actually who are actually on his shoes today. So I was his comrade, his friend, colleague. I worked with him, and then I was the first to actually fall a victim to that. And I'm not the only one, and I'm not also the last one. As we speak today, right now, there are like countless journalists and political activists and political figures and opposition figures, some of them ONLF executive members who are languishing in jail, who cannot actually go back to their homes today, who are actually wake up all night thinking about what would be the fate of their family if they actually push this a little harder, if they actually continue their activism and advocacy against whatever abuses we have in the region. So, and he's not shy about it. He's not like, he hasn't even tried. He was like, he uses the same kind of tricks, the same kind of language to actually justify what you call for the people who actually has fallen victim to his abuses. One and the last for one of the classic examples of that was when he actually back in May 2020, we have actually managed to actually mobilize the entire regional parliament against him. So out of 285 something, 210 of them signed a petition that actually and brought a motion against him, a motion of no confidence against him. And what he did was he actually put a huge contingent of new police to the regional parliament compound. They kicked everybody, beaten everybody, and at the end of the day, some of them actually get seriously what do you call injured. I have all the videos on we shared it back then on all the platforms we have. it was one of the most real experience that you would never have expected. So finally, 200 of them, of those 210 that actually brought the motion of no confidence, the vote of no confidence against him, 180 of them has to actually leave the premises and run away for their lives. So they actually even went all the way to the main city square, which is actually a little way far from where the parliament gathers for its regular sessions. They actually, yes, were able to humiliate and beat people on this on the street. Not even like, it's not like a, what you call harassment or intimidation. It was actually brutal, what you call physical abuse. And then and that is when I actually finally ran away from my life as well, and left the region. And that is why most of our colleagues who are actually part of the Somali Cause Project are actually cannot go back to their homes or cannot go to the region and actually engage their political advocacy, what you call openly and freely. And that is the same kind of region that national media, state media, international organizations think like it is a peaceful region, like it's an open region, like it is a, what you call, like Mustafa and his administration has actually improved in the regions, what do you call, in terms of their handling about human and democratic and political rights. But what I was gonna say is Mustafa looks like this eloquent, what do you call, sophisticated, kind of educated guy that he actually, and all the other mess that's going on in other parts of the country, actually gave him this, what you call, shielding from actually, from people looking at what is people looking at into the reality on the ground. And to the so that actually, it really upsets me when people say the Somali region is the most peaceful region, and also Mustafa and his administration has improved human rights and democratic rights in the region, because nothing could be actually far from the truth of the two angles. And on the aspect of Somali cause and what should be about the future, or what would be our, what you call, assessment, or what would we would forward as a solution or as a roadmap, is that the current situation in Ethiopia is untenable. Even though there is a window of opportunity, one more window of opportunity that I think may have even closed before it actually fully opened, is there's an opportunity for peace. And it is never too late to actually engage with your adversaries. So what we would actually gonna call for is for Abiy and his regime to actually think twice about the kind of damage they have actually caused, the kind of suffering, the human suffering they have caused in the past 3 years, and spare us, all of us, one more time, and make sure that as they say, if they worry about the territorial integrity, the unity, and the prosperity of Ethiopia, everything they are doing is anathema to the territorial integrity, to the unity, and to the prosperity of this nation. So history will not going to be kind to them, because maybe today they have all the power and all the support they're getting from foreign, what do you call, regimes like Turkey and UAE, and dystopian, what do you call, regimes like Isaias Afewerk. But things were not going to be the same, and things were not going to stay the same. Things were going to change, and there will be a time that we were going to take a full account of what has happened, and they would, and I am sure and confident that people were going to realize what kind of monsters that the fate of Ethiopia and the fate of 110 million and the wider region has fallen into their hands. But again, I believe in redemption. I believe in second and third chances. What I was gonna say is, rather than actually doubling down on the kind of destructive path that they have put us all through, it is time to be more reasonable, more rational, and less intoxicated in terms of power and vengeance and destruction, and actually make sure that they actually play their part in terms of bringing people together. And the first step is to grab this window of opportunity after TDF forces retreated to Tigray, and actually give peace a chance. I would say, give peace a chance and make sure that they actually arrange a real serious national dialogue that is inclusive, that is also not inclusive, but all inclusive. That is not just another gimmick, but rather one last attempt to salvage whatever we have left, or to actually at least change the situation in a little bit into the positive.
Great. Thank you so much, Mohamed Olad, from Congress for Somali Cause. I think part of the point you made is the definition of peace. From Abiy Ahmed to Mustafa, their inspiration is the peace in Eritrea. So that's the part of the problem where they define and they aspire to be Isaias Afwerki's Eritrea, which is not something that many or millions of Eritreans would not be happy with. Thank you for your time, and best wishes with the Congress for Somali Code. And like you said, new groups are joining, and I hope this would be something, a big umbrella that would fight for the poor people in Somali, and join other forces who are from all regions fighting for real, for the poor farmers, women and children everywhere in the Horn or in Ethiopia. Have a good one from my side for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Getachew. Thanks for the opportunity, and again, congratulations on all the good things you guys are doing. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Great. You have been following the UMD Media Show, live conversation with Mohamed Olad on Somali cause, Danta, Soomaalida. And we will continue to converse with diverse voices. UMD Media is open for anyone who wants to contribute for an evidence-based, an evidence-led, an evidence-rich discourse and decision-making in the Horn of Africa. We broadcast in English, Amharic, Tigrinya. We tried once in Swedish as well. So we try to be a multilingual platform for voices who aspire to have an understanding, measuring, and doing of anything that is related to Horn of Africa, Ethiopia, Tigray. And I'll be back with the H panel, with the panels on Friday 3 p.m. H panel will be back. Until then, bye for now.